But you get to
but
like
it's
orchestrate.
real.
So like knowledge management doesn't work when it's like a siloed department that's working on their own.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
orchestrated stakeholders because you've got to go across business units, operational departments, market sectors. Like you're really orchestrating and having success through others as a knowledge
Yeah.
manager. And a lot of that is connecting the dots and like, because you're sitting in all those rooms, you know what's happening in the firm and you're playing air traffic control. And that's a lot of like what makes, these firms successful for sure. I think they also think like a jobs to be done would be a good framework, but thinking in terms of use cases and being like really specific about what use cases matter most. Like, so for example, like we have 7 firms in our beta, like we just got into beta for the learning management system. And one of the firms comes to mind who's like, well, they've got 12, 13 years of recordings of like this really great learning and development program they've been doing.
Well,
But it's too much, like it's so much that it's like, where do we start? And they're like, well, let's go back to our business strategy. We added 70 employees. Like there's a 250 person firm. We had 70 people last year who are emerging professionals. We wanted to get them, they do a lot of healthcare. We want to get them up to speed and fluent in healthcare. That's it. That's the focus. Like we're going to stay after that. Like how do we upskill emerging professionals in healthcare until we have that in really good shape? And then we'll move on to the next thing. Not try and like serve all people across the business all at the same time. That takes discipline, right? And trust and like willingness to, like, strategy is mostly what you say no to, right? And so that's a lot of what's the strategy part is, and willing to like stick to your guns and work on the most important thing. Like that's what I get inspired when I see firms do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And we see that, and it seems like that seems like it would be more a bigger and bigger issue with the amount of mergers and acquisitions that have been happening. And I have to think, and that, that's not my area of expertise, but I have to think that M&A is going to drive a lot more quote unquote growth as we continue to move forward. But, if you're going through a merger, an acquisition, whichever it is, you've got to transfer knowledge into the new team, or back and forth, I suppose.
Yeah. We had at K Connect last year, we had 2 folks from Page in Houston talk about the merger with EYP that they did. And, both highly technical, smart, great firms. Like, what does it mean? Not just to merge all the like the letterhead and the ERPs, like fine, but like we both do this kind of work. Like, which way is better? Like, we want to kind of like have efficiency. We don't want to like just say we're acquiring you now, do everything our way. Like, if you have a better way, we want to learn from it. So they kind of talk through some of the knowledge management challenge, like opportunities of like buying a really smart company and saying like, how do we make our stuff better or make them better? Like, it's really interesting. Like, and when it's done thoughtfully, it's really interesting.
Yeah. So what are some of the traps and blind spots that, if it's maybe it's a M&A type situation, or maybe it's just an organic growth situation, or maybe it's just, hey, we're trying to catch up with the 90s. What are some of the things that people are missing they need to be aware of?
So most of the time when we get hired, because building a knowledge management platform and intranet LMS, it's a firm-wide deployment. So it's not something that you go pick up, at the checkout, like the little kiosk right at the checkout line, and it's not an impulse buy. So usually when firms come to us, like something rather seismic has happened, right? There is ownership transition or leadership transition within the company. There's been an M&A. I'd say the most common is they've hit growing pains. So there are these natural sizes within AEC, like, I don't know, 30, 60, 100, 250, you know where they are, like where it's like, we need to invest a lot more to get the operational efficiency to be able to be comfortable and make money at this size. And if we don't, we're going to be in a really bad spot. And so firms oftentimes bring us in when they're in through growing pains and they're realizing we can't keep working like we used to work. Like one of the firms that always talks about this is Turner Fleischer and Toronto. When they first started working with us, they were 60, 70 people, and all of the knowledge was in people's heads. It was like, and so they spent the first year writing, basically, like really like just like developing for the first time written policies, procedures, standards, like identifying who's the right person to go to for what. Like it was just getting all of that out of their heads and consolidating from their systems and just having a firm-wide knowledge base, which now if there are 250 people, I'm not claiming direct causal link between those things and them hiring us, but like it definitely has unlocked and smoothed the growth process. And now they're revising, you have to constantly keep revising your knowledge as the firm grows and changes. So I think a blind spot is just thinking you can scale perhaps without fundamentally, you have to keep redesigning your business. It's back to designing the business again. And that's just part of life. That's part of what it is, I think.
Yeah. And there has to be too, the idea of building the knowledge management system, right? In all that knowledge that's in everyone else's head.
Right.
And there are some examples out there. There's some famous examples. Thornton Tomasetti has one, and so on and so forth. But the key to success, as I understand it, and this is not my area of expertise either. Obviously, it's yours, but part of the key to success has to be documentation and data capture too, right? Because you've got to feed it. You've got to have a data lake, I assume RAG and then data, and you've got to somehow pull all of this together, pull it out of people's heads and into a repository. What kind of challenges does that create?
Yeah, I'm thinking of a client of ours named Bora Architecture and Interiors up in Portland, Oregon, and they hired a director of sustainability named Corey Squire to come in and help, take their sustainability efforts to the next level. And Corey, one of his first, he wrote a book about sustainability called People, Planet, Design. And in it, he's got a knowledge management chapter. His view is like sustainability is knowledge management. Like that's the key to unlocking it. It's not that people don't care about the environment generally in our industry or don't want to solve the problems, is they don't know what to do. And so he went through a really extensive process on their intranet of documenting, like, here are the core strategies. Like, here's why that they're important. Here's why we do it this way at Bora. Here are the different outcomes we're trying to achieve. Here are the best practices. Here are the materials. So you kind of like start with that big vision for the company and you just work all the way down to give context to people. And I think this is, I guess I'll go in the bucket of blind spots a little bit, is a lot of times what firms do is they capture knowledge from experts, but the experts write it, which isn't great because they usually write for other experts or at the expert level.
Right. Yeah,
and they don't remember what it was like to be a novice, and they have the curse of knowledge. Like they'll just use acronyms or assumptions that like other people don't understand. And so I think what the best firms are doing is they're trying to write more down at that intern or novice level. And provide a lot of context. The why is equally important than the what, right? So for example, window to wall ratio, right? Like maybe it should be 20 to 40% on a building, right? But why? Like why 20%? Why 40%? Yeah. When would you do 20 versus 40? Like what, like understand beyond just like, here's this rule of thumb, apply it. And so that's what I think Bora has done really, really well, which has set them up. They actually uploaded Corey's book to their intranet, and now that's all searchable too, which is an awesome thing. So yes, we're using retrieval augmented generation. You ask questions, you pull answers back, but the AI benefits from context too. Like it's better when you write for AI at that novice intern level than writing at the expert level, because it doesn't know what window to wall ratio is, right? It doesn't. It's agnostic. And so the more clarity and simplicity and context you can provide, like that's where we see a lot of the investment. Because you're writing for two audiences now. You're writing for humans and you're writing for agents in the future, right? You have a hybrid workforce coming and you have to write for both of them. But it turns out that like the best writing serves both of those people the same when it's simple, clear, has context, et cetera.
Yeah. That is interesting. I hadn't really thought about it in that way before. Yes, absolutely. AI benefits. It's going to return better with context. So here we are. It's roughly the middle of 2025 as we're having this conversation right now. So as we look into our crystal ball, as we look ahead, where is this heading over the next 3 to 5 years? What's going to change? Grok heavy is out now. Where's knowledge management headed?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's great. No, I mean, I do think KM 3.0, that wave, we are early in that wave. So I think it's going to take a while for it to roll through the industry on multiple, like roll through even a firm. You're going to have early adopters and laggards and all the kind of same stuff.
sure. Yeah,
Firm by firm,
absolutely.
it's going to take a while. The technology is going to keep getting better. But what I think seems pretty clear right now is some of the fundamentals still matter. Having high quality data still matters, like, and will matter even more. But the good news is you're getting more ROI on that data. So it's going to be easier for people to understand why good data matters. I think that seems clear. For us, as we move towards building knowledge agents into our platform, which is something we've started designing, that relies on a really good AI search layer. So being able to understand context and or complex questions, like, for example, like we're working on something called advanced project search right now, which can handle things like the thing I said earlier, like how many higher ed projects over 200,000 square feet in Massachusetts in natural language, ask that question and get back answers. In some cases from structured data, like we would pull in from a Deltec. In some cases from like unstructured data, it might be proposals, it might be a video presentation on that specific project. And so like making good sense of structured and unstructured data and knowing when to use which and understanding query intent and all those things. There's a lot to do to get really powerful search, which is, in our view, the platform that you have to build knowledge agents on top of. So if agents are going to act on your behalf to do a variety of different tasks, they have to be able to get at answers really easily. And so that's what we're excited about, is having really kind of like a hybrid workforce of employees kind of like working alongside agents. Maybe there are private agents that you've just created for yourself to help you. It could be something as prosaic as write blog posts, but like using your firm's content. Or maybe it's helping you to do, X, Y, learn something. Like I really want to learn project management. Be my buddy in helping me learn project management. Or you can
Sure.
see like firm-wide agents that are developed for, specific use cases like searching our standards and codes. You probably want to slide the precision knob a little bit all the way to like verbatim, right?
Yeah.
Versus like if you've got something like write me a blog post, you want to slide the precision knob to be able to be creative, like cite your sources,
Right.
but like be expansive. So I
Sure.
think it's this, how do we build towards a world where we have good knowledge, we can get good retrieval to that knowledge for both employees and agents, and then we live in a society, it's not a society, but like in a time in technology where a lot of that knowledge is spread across different platforms. So I think integrations like whether it's just straight up integrations like we've always done through APIs, or whether it gets to be in a MCP and agents asking agents from other platforms questions, like that seems inevitable. I don't know exactly how it's going to look like, but it seems like that's part of what that future looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I'm going to ask this question, and I know this is, will probably generate a recap because we've talked about some of these things, but you mentioned early on as we were talking that your product is synthesis, and of course you're going through iterations, et cetera. What's next on the horizon for synthesis?
Agents, like I just said, like right now we're building the advanced project. Like technically we're building the project search. We're then, as I mentioned, we're building the learning management system and releasing that, which maybe I can touch on a little bit, but then being able to search all the content in the learning management system. Because one of the reasons so when we finished that, I mentioned we moved off of SharePoint and we re-platformed the product. That was
Right.
what we called Synthesis 6. And that was like a 4-year, like there was a massive lift. But we didn't have any roadmap coming out of that. Because it was such a big change, we wanted to just let it sit in the community and have people adopt it and then help us find what to build next. And so I did a listening tour with about 60 of our clients personally and said, like, where's your business going? How's knowledge management going? How can we help? Just like broad brush, like not necessarily where we could help. And I heard AI and I heard learning and development. And people weren't asking us to build the learning and development stuff, but it was so obvious. And historically, learning management has been kind of on an island with its like LMS. It's a separate system from knowledge management. And like, it just seems kind of bonkers to me that, you watch subject matter. So do I post my like how to help people learn in the LMS, or do I put it in the knowledge management system on the intranet? Like, where do I share? Like if I'm a user, where do I go to learn about a thing? And we're like, we got to stop the madness. And so building an integrated system that's intranet plus LMS with AI search over it means from an end user perspective, I can just go look for knowledge and learning. I don't have to think about, is this a lesson learned? Is this a course? Is this a standard? Is this a conversation? Like, I just can go ask my question and get the best of our knowledge brought to me. So like, that's what we're building towards. But the LMS part of it too, it's like, we just think like, there are like essential core curricula that like firms want people to go through, like to just understand how the firm works, what its markets are. If you're going to be a new project manager, a learning path to teach you the way that we do project management here at our firm, or the way that we do the retail or healthcare design here at our firm. So we think there's so much opportunity towards just being really intentional about upskilling people. So there's so many things, Jeff. Like it all feels like it's kind of like I've been working in 25 years in AEC and kind of KM combined, and like this is the moment I think I've been kind of like building towards. Like it really feels like all the roads are converging, and it's the most fun I've had in my career. Like right now, like it's a really good time.
Yeah, that's got to feel good.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of knowledge managers feel the same way. They're like, finally, like people see it. Like what I've seen in my head as a knowledge manager, like all of a sudden it's like lighting up. I remember struggling at one of my architecture firms, partly because I wasn't very good at, these are kind of like founder lessons, but like I wasn't very good at putting what good looks like in the term, in the language that the architect or the principal that I was trying to get to change. Like I was seeing it from a KM lens or what would be cool about it technologically. I wasn't very good about like connecting to like what made them tick, gotten better at that. But it always drove me crazy. It's like we have like that firm specifically, we were really good at master planning. Like we had done tons of it. We were well known for it, but like you couldn't find any information on our network, on our intranet. Like it was all like in people's heads. And I'm like, I tried unsuccessfully to convince them to try and do it, but this is what we see taking off across our clients. It's always been easy to get in IT information and HR information and marketing information, like ops. Like, yes, it's always been easy to get the employee handbook put on the internet forever, of course. It's been harder to get the master planning best practices, or like, here's all the jargon we use in healthcare projects, and here's the different user groups and what they mean. Like those people are running 100 miles a minute. They're oversubscribed. It's hard to get them to slow down and share because they're just so busy working. And so what we're seeing happen right now is like the practice people are getting into it. And they're like, yep, this is an investment. Like my quality of life will improve if I slow down and transfer this knowledge. And I will help also mentor this next generation. Like it's all the dots are connecting.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's a really good takeaway. What are a couple, 3 takeaways? And maybe this is for, I'm kind of thinking of our audience. Certainly, like I mentioned in our mastermind groups, there are a lot of these directors of innovation. Their firms are working on LMSs, KMSs.
Yeah.
So there are some that are building their own. Of course, there are some that haven't even started the journey yet.
Right.
And maybe there are some that are asking the question that all these folks are asking is: do we build it? Do we buy it? Do we partner? What are the 2 or 3 takeaways from this conversation and your work and what you learn and talking to your clients and others across the AEC industry? What are the 2 or 3 takeaways for folks that are in the game, somewhere in the maybe it's the early stages of the game, early-ish stages of the game for learning or knowledge management? What do they need to know right now?
I mean, I'm just going to start by going back to the executive sponsor. Make sure you have that executive sponsor in your room who knows what matters most to the business, so you don't like go like, it's cool that you can fly from LA to Boston, but what if the firm's trying to go to Seattle? Like, so like that kind of like alignment, like just triple checking to make sure you're working on the right thing. I just feel like that's so important from like just an alignment and strategy perspective. I think that having practice, so in addition to like executive level, I think having people from the practice involved, like if I look back on my career and I'm critical of where I could have been better as a knowledge manager, is I think I'm pretty smart and I've like reverse engineered what would make this architect more effective, but I didn't actually talk to them first. And so I think grounding in as much time with those technical folks, and even better if you can spend time doing their job or shadowing them. Like I picked up red lines. That sure helped me a lot. I went on job sites. I did some CA work. I went and took some architecture classes. Like the more empathy, like if you're a non-technical person and you're in that role, like just absorbing as much AEC-ness as you can and building that empathy and building allies on the practice side, I can't stress how important that is. Like just to build that credibility and show interest. Like people love it when they like being asked about their stuff, and I think good knowledge managers can provide a really a good service to subject matter experts because they can interview them. Like it's hard to ask someone to go to a blank piece of paper and write down what you know. Like it's hard for all the reasons we discussed before. But knowledge managers can be knowledge brokers, right? They can interview, like Jeff, like let's say we were talking about podcasting. It's like I could spend half an hour to an hour with you asking you how you prepare, how you get organized, when a podcast goes off the rails, how do you bring it back on? How do you decide whether to follow up, or just let it go and ask a different question? Like there's all this critical knowledge and deep smarts that you have on how to do your work that as a non-podcaster, I have like an advantage of actually being naive to what it is your expertise is. And I think knowledge managers have the same thing. If you're not an architect and you're trying to you can ask them really dumb questions, but it can help expose and then you make it accessible to like emerging professionals and interns and all that kind of stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah. You're not plagued by the curse of knowledge.
You're not plagued by the curse of knowledge.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's interesting because it's, you and I have talked about this. I mentioned this at the very beginning of the episode here. We just launched or earlier this year, we launched our Catalyst, which is our online community. And one of the things that we've done for Catalyst, how do you build in 2025? How do you build an online community? Which, it's not my first online community rodeo, but it's different, right? It's 2025. We're talking about something very niche. So how do you launch something and build something that's highly engaged? And I'm reminded of Gary Vaynerchuk saying you have to do the things that are unscalable. And so people put their name on a wait list. I vet and interview every single person. So I've had 100 and some odd of these interviews by now. And one of the things that I tell everybody in that interview, and this is sort of a test, right? I say this to people just to see what their reaction is. I say, I need you to show up curious. And what you're saying right now just totally resonates in that space because we need to show up curious.
Yeah.
Curious about the problem, curious about the topic, curious about what people know they don't know, how they're going to receive it, etc. I've got a different purpose for saying that in terms of in the context of the community than you do for knowledge management.
Yeah.
But I think at the base, as human beings, if we can show up curious, how much better are we?
Yeah.
How much better is our society potentially if that's the hat that we're wearing?
Totally. Showing up curious, showing up humble, right? And being willing to learn and start from the ground up. I think a thing that's hard for a lot of people to get drawn toward this work. This is, again, I'll just tell you from my personal experience. A core value at our company is actually based on some hard-won lessons is we work on the most important thing, no matter how hard it is. Mm-hmm. And so there's two parts to that, right? We do work on the most important thing from a strategy level, but there were times along our journey where, the first time we did search, not the AI search, but the search before that, I was just convinced that was outside of our capability to be able to build a reasonably good search engine. And went on, my wife is actually my design partner for the software. And she and I went on a listening tour before building Synthesis 5, which is the version before the one we went off SharePoint. And in time after time, people were complaining about the SharePoint search. They're like, oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
this. And I get to the end of the listening tour and I'm like, cool. So we're going to work on these 3 things. This seems what's obvious. She goes, were you not in those meetings? She's like, it's search, bro. Kind of like, that's the thing. I'm like, well, we can't do search. I mean, that's what Google does. Like, there's no way we can do that. And she's like, if you don't do it, you're never going to have a great product. And so that I listened, thank God, and dug in. And then we ended up, then search has become it's still one of our core strengths today. So had to get over some like mental block that like, this thing is too hard, but it is the most important thing. So that's what we always, that's like kind of a rallying cry for us now. And I find people will avoid working on that hard thing because there's something that's easier. And sometimes the hard thing is also boring too, and there's a shinier object that seems like a lot more fun that would be cool to play with. But if it doesn't move the needle, you haven't really advanced your company in terms of knowledge management or AI or whatever the thing is. So I don't know. That's not a little thing that comes to mind.
Yeah. That I like that. I like that as a core value. One final question. What is one thing that you want everybody that's listening or watching, if they're watching this on YouTube,
Yep.
What's one thing that you want people to take away either about knowledge architecture, the company, or synthesis,
Yep.
and or synthesis, the tool?
I think that I want them to take away the community aspect of what we do. So we have KA Connect, which is the annual knowledge management conference, which I talked about. It's open to folks in the AEC industry. It's not only for clients of ours. I've got the Smarter by Design newsletter you talked about. We do almost monthly webinars where someone's doing something interesting. I'm very active on LinkedIn. And we are not a company that if you kind of get in our ecosystem, we're going to hound you to death in terms of trying to get you to buy our product. We have had people in our ecosystem coming to our conference, speaking at our conference, who are non-clients, who are really thoughtful about knowledge management for well over a decade at this point. And so I would encourage folks that want to learn from other people who are doing knowledge management or learning and development or AI or whatever it is, like just get involved with our community, like sign up for our mailing list, hit me up on LinkedIn, come to our conference, know that like you're welcome there. You don't have to buy our product to be a full member. You won't be like a second-class citizen. Like we really want to help the industry learn how to do knowledge management and all the related things around learning and development better. And so I think that's what our goal is, to get smarter together. Like that's what we talk about. The mantra for the community is. And a lot of the insights that have made us smarter over the years came from outside of our clients. And great. And then we put it back out. So like, we hope it's a virtuous cycle.
Yeah, I like that. Chris Parsons and I have been talking about a number of things, but especially knowledge management. And as I said earlier in the episode, this is a hot topic. It's a regular topic. It's something that's being discussed throughout our entire ecosystem, the KP ReadyCo ecosystem, certainly in our mastermind groups and beyond. Knowledge management systems, learning management systems. Great conversation. Chris is the founder and CEO of Knowledge Architecture. Their platform is called Synthesis. Their conference is KA Connect, and their newsletter is Smarter by Design. You should check each of those out in sequence. So, you can hit pause and back it up. That's the beauty. That's the beauty of this technology, this brand new technology that we're using right now. You should check out all of those things and connect with Chris on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, you're going to see him as Christopher Parsons.
That's
Before
right.
we hit record, we talked about the the conflict there, and people ask me too, right? What's my name? Well, my name is Jeffrey, but only if it's my mom speaking and I'm in real trouble. So, so if you're looking for Chris on LinkedIn, look for Christopher Parsons, CEO and founder of Knowledge Architecture. Chris, thanks so much for joining me. And it's been a fantastic conversation.
Yeah. Thanks for being such a good interviewer. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, great. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And for everybody listening, we appreciate you listening. I'll be back again next week with another conversation. Maybe I'll be with KP Ready. Maybe it'll be another surprise guest here on KP Unpacked. We're really starting to expand the offerings here on KP Unpacked, so you never know who might show up next week on the podcast. So thanks for listening. We appreciate all of you. If you haven't joined Catalyst yet, go to kpreddy.co. Fill out, I believe it's 3 forms right there, or 3 fields right there on the homepage. Jump on the wait list. You can jump into our online community called Catalyst. It is the place to talk about and push innovation for the built environment. So appreciate you being here. My name is Jeff Eccles. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week. Thanks, everybody.